This is not an ad. What's up, guys? It's Michael Vorpal, and welcome back to the Common Sense is Not Dead podcast. So if you believe a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, stay tuned because we're going to talk about how that goes against some definitions and how words have meanings. But common sense would tell me that same thing. If you're new to this show and you believe that, this might not be the show for you. I might not be for you. But actually, I hope that we can exchange some ideas and you stick around to hear me out, because I think that's what's missing in today's America and country, and what I decided to swear to uphold and defend, which are constitutional rights and our Constitution, right? So I'm going to execute my freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and hopefully we can exchange some ideas here. With that being said, I need to get something out of the way, a little disclaimer. I am an active duty United States Marine, so the thoughts, opinions, and everything expressed in this content, and any type of thoughts and opinions expressed in this content, are mine and mine alone, and do not represent in any official capacity or unofficial capacity the Department of Defense, United States Marine Corps, any of the like or equivalent agencies. And it is 100% my position, not an official statement by any means. So hopefully that covers my bootay, right? CYA, in order to make sure that I'm legally okay and that you understand and apply some common sense here, that this is my personal opinion and not an official remark from any type of organization. With that being said, let's get into the different types of formats of the show. We have this episode that's called, or this type of format that's called Let's Talk About It, where we talk about a headline or something big that's going on in order to give you some common sense thoughts and opinions on how we need to address these things moving forward, applying common sense, because again, it is not dead. We then have another format called Lessons Learned. Lessons Learned is where I take a concept or something that I've continuously applied in my life, and that has helped me move forward to reach my goals, whether that's professionally, personally, or in any other way that I have been able to provide value to others, or in my world, in my life, so that you can apply it and move forward and maybe reach that goal a lot faster, or overcome or work through whatever it is you're working through better. We then have another format of the show called Scroll and Troll. Scroll and Troll is where we scroll social media. I see some videos and we go ahead and troll it. But the main purpose for this trolling is not to be negative or demeaning. It's actually to provide value and some common sense into your life, or inject that back into society. And who knows, maybe if the originator sees it, it makes them rethink their life, and actually they can apply common sense in their world as well. Because if we apply some more common sense, then we can absolutely change some things that need to happen. The final format of the show right now is what we call, or what I'm calling, full send. All right. That's full send Q&A. In the military, there's this idea called full send, like send it, like where after we have a brief or some type of meeting, anyone says, hey, anyone have any questions? And, or we're on the range, right? And we're sending rounds down range. Okay. We're full send, just let it rip, just let them fly. And that's where we get to just unload those ammunition or questions. So you're firing things down range, fire them at me. You can submit your questions to me where I'm going to answer them. I'll give you the blunt, honest truth, some common sense answers, the way I look at it. If you want to comment your questions or ask your questions in the comment section below here on YouTube, or you can email your questions into fullsendforanswers@gmail.com. Again, that's fullsendforanswers@gmail.com. Again, that email is going to be in the description so that you can copy and paste it as well. So this episode, or what this show is not free. Okay. I put myself in the crosshairs, so to speak, proverbially, hopefully never literally, because I've just been having this pull by God on my heart to speak some truth, blunt, honest, common sense back into everyone. And this is a way I can do it. This platform, YouTube, social media, all of that stuff. So what I mean by it's not free is, and here's what I expect of you. I expect you to share the show and contribute. So if you gain some value, if you agree, if you think that this needs to happen and common sense needs to be back in society or in your world or your community, then I need your help. I need you to contribute to that movement. I need you to contribute to that thought process. I can't do it alone. I'll be someone to speak some common sense and have that courage to do so. But you need to have that little bit of courage to share this show with one person, share it to your Facebook, your stories, whatever the case is. I need your contribution, guys. And you should feel obligated to contribute in order to go into something that you believe, right? If you believe in anything or gained value, made you laugh, made you cry, made you think, right? Again, redefining, so applying some common sense here, redefining, executing some amendment and constitutional rights that we can execute so that we don't regress and feed into the degradation of America and society. Like, that is something virtuous to be a part of. Like, you should want to do that. Okay. You might not agree with everything I say, and that's okay too. But if it made you think, is that not valuable to help redefine or rehone your position and really just exchange those ideas and actually put into practice the constitutional rights that we have as humans, as humanity, right? Like, is that not what we're supposed to do? So I need you to contribute to the show. And I don't think that's too much to ask. All right. Also, make sure you go subscribe and comment and all that stuff. It helps with the, digital nerdy stuff, algorithms. But I'd appreciate your subscription too, because we can't do this just by ourselves. We need you to invite one other person as well. So today's show is a Let's Talk About a show, and it's going to be a good one because let's talk about something that, you might not expect someone who's an active duty Marine, a father, a Christian, and all that to talk about. But, first and foremost, I need to give credit where credit is due. I did not find this myself or by myself. In fact, there's another creator on TikTok. She's awesome. Go follow her. Her name is Gina here. Okay. So you can take a look at this. Her link to the actual reel that got me sparked on today's topic is in the description as well. But go follow Gina. She's very cutthroat, truth, common sense individual. And I have to give credit where if I didn't see this, I wouldn't have probably found today's topic in general. And I had some other ideas of what I wanted to record for you guys, but this just stuck out and I needed to talk about it, mainly because I got a little girl. I have a daughter, and it really spoke to my heart. And I was having a pull where I had to adjust. So here we are in today's episode. Let's talk about it. Again, go read the articles that I'm pulling from below. And this is from Planned Parenthood. So what is virginity? All right. And, after reading the article actually, I thought, was extremely well written. It wasn't like leaning one way or another, in my opinion. I could appreciate the viewpoints and the considerations it was trying to communicate and what their end goal was. However, it was the video that is accompanied at the top of it to support this article that the issues come into play. Because let's face it, a lot of Americans, they don't read books. They are lazy. They don't want to read. They don't want to do that because it requires thinking. Okay, that's fine. You want to be mediocre, that's a different topic, but that's on you. And that's why you're in the position you're in. But going to the video, there were some issues. There are some issues. And Gina, again, who I saw her reel, go watch that. She addresses some things that she saw with the video and the concept of this. And I'm going to address my own ways. But first, in order to do that, we have to watch it. So with that being said, without further ado, we're going to watch this. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. It's about 3 minutes, so bear with it. If it makes you uncomfortable, look, this is how we have to address things. We have to address uncomfortable things. We have to be willing to talk about it and put it out there. So here, without further ado, here's the video.
What is it? And what's the big deal about losing it? Let me cut to the chase. Virginity is a completely made-up concept. It's a term that was created simply to control and shame people, mainly women. A virgin is someone who's never had sex, but it's not as simple as it seems. For one thing, medically, virginity isn't a real thing. In some cultures, people place a lot of importance on the hymen, a thin, fleshy tissue located at the opening of your vagina, as a marker of virginity. But the status of your hymen doesn't actually mean anything. That's because having penis and vagina sex is not the only way a hymen can stretch open. It can happen by putting something in your vagina like a tampon or a finger, riding a bike, or doing sports. So you can't tell if someone's had sex by the way their hymen looks or feels. Another reason the idea of virginity is complete nonsense is that sex means different things to different people. Generally speaking, society tends to define sex in a very narrow way: penetration, penis into vagina. But where does that definition leave queer people, or folks who can't or don't have penis and vagina sex, and choose to have oral, anal, or another type of sex instead? And not everyone's first sexual experience is consensual, meaning that they were forced or pressured into having sex. There is also a double standard on who carries the burden of virginity. Society puts pressure on men for not having sex at the exact same time they shame women for having it. Make it make sense. Either way, shame has no place in someone's personal decisions about sex. It's time to throw away the notion of losing your virginity. What if instead of losing something, we reframe it as gaining? Because the truth is, when we make our own decision to become sexually active, we aren't setting ourselves up to lose anything at all. We hope we are gaining things like intimacy, self-insight, pleasure, and empowerment. All of these myths around sex and virginity can be so hurtful and overwhelming. But here's the one truth you should remember. Sex is defined by one thing and one thing only: you. Maybe that's being fingered for the first time. Maybe it's having anal sex. Maybe it's having your first orgasm. Maybe it's masturbating for the first time, or when you enthusiastically consent to sex. That's the beauty of your sexual journey. You're in charge, and you can figure it out on your own terms. Choosing to have sex, when, what kind, where, who with, is something that only you get to define.
Well, there you have it. Apparently, if you don't believe that you've lost your virginity, then you're still a virgin, regardless of the definitions. Although, before we get into the definitions here, hey, look, I want to make it known, okay? That entire set, I feel underrepresented. I feel underrepresented. Like, I didn't see anything in terms of my type of reproductive organs in the set. I'm just saying. It's okay. We're all about definitions and confusing and burning the line. But hey, let's all talk about who has the burden here, who has the burden there, with totally convoluting and diluting what the actual definitions are that make language sophisticated and have some sort of sophisticated society and communication frameworks. So I love words. And let's go ahead and look at the definitions here to make sure that, we're all on the same page here. Okay. We're all on the same page. Just a little Googling. All right. Let's take a look at these. All right. So, virginity, the state of never having had sexual intercourse. Oh, but Michael, it says having sexual intercourse. How do we know what that is? You know what? That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. So here it is: sexual intercourse. Sexual contact between individuals involving penetration, especially in the insertion of a man's erect penis into a woman's vagina, typically culminating in orgasm and the ejaculation of semen. All right. There you have it. The two definitions: virginity, sexual intercourse. Yeah, but what about sex? I'm glad you talked about it. Let's look at this. Sex. Sexual activity, including specifically sexual intercourse. All right. So what that's saying is sex, a noun. It's sexual activity, including specifically sexual intercourse. What was sexual intercourse? That's right. Especially in the insertion of a man's erect penis into a woman's vagina. All right. So I think what we can safely say is that if you have sex via sexual intercourse, then you are not a virgin. But if you have not had sex via sexual intercourse, then you are still a virgin. I hope we can apply some common sense here with this. Okay, sex, sexual intercourse, no virgin. No sex, no sexual intercourse, virgin. All right, so let's dive into some more things here as we go ahead and dissect this video. So first and foremost, said that virginity is made up to control and chain people, specifically women. Well, we definitely just went over the definitions. And because what? Because medically you can't prove that someone's a virgin. Well, whatever happened to honesty and truth? Hey, you ever had sex? Nope. All right, you're a virgin. I'm just throwing this out there. Okay. Like at some point, you have to put validity and honesty and trust in people's word just because you can't medically prove it. Okay. Because hear me out here. Having sex and having sexual intercourse and losing your virginity is a big deal. Something actually changes with that person. Something actually changes. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But why are we trying to redefine virginity in the first place? I want you to think about that. Because in the video, there's agreed upon definition, which we just went over. Okay. They agreed that having sex is sexual intercourse in the video. But then they go to say sex means different things. So that's insert sex. Excuse the pun, but insert sex, the definition of sex, to have sexual intercourse. So how can sex mean different things if we're looking at the definitions to begin with? Okay, now you're trying to muddy the waters for no reason. Why are they trying to do that? Let's keep going. So then they use the different types of already accepted sex in society in order to support that sex means different things with oral sex and anal sex. Like, no, that's been around forever. Some people call it sodomy. Okay. Like, it's been around a long time. This is nothing new. So common sense would tell me that that makes no sense. Oral sex is not sex in the sense of virginity. No one's going around saying, oh, yeah, I lost my oral virginity today. No one's going around and saying, I lost my anal virginity today. That's not what's happening. Okay. And then goes around to talk about homosexuals and lesbians and all of that. And, you know, if that's what you do, that's on you. I don't personally believe it, but I'm not cramming down my way, like cramming my thing down your throat, right? My beliefs and things like that. But I am going to go ahead and reinforce some common sense here. If in your world, the type of virginity that you're losing is through anal means, then that's what it means to you. Cool. But it doesn't redefine what the actual definition is. You have constituted anal sex for the first time and agreed to do it. Awesome. Good for you. Like, continue to do that if you want. Continue to do that. But by definition, you are still a virgin. Okay. It is what it is because you're choosing not to have sex with the opposite sex in the sense of erect penis in penetrating a vagina. That is sexual intercourse. So if you have not done that, then you are a virgin. If you want to misconstrue or say, hey, I've lost my virginity because I'm gay or lesbian and make your own definition, then that's completely up to you. But that is not the definition because that is not the construct of language. That is not the sophistication of language. We are diluting language. And I'm not saying that to demean your experience of your life. Again, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But you can't dilute the already accepted meaning of these things. If you want to apply it in your own context, then you do that. But that is not what the definition is. That's rooted back hundreds of thousands of years if you go back and look at the definitions and the roots, okay? Just because you want to apply it in a different way doesn't mean that it's going to be widely accepted, rooted in how much long ago where these same actions were happening, okay? Like if you think that all of a sudden within this 21st century, oh yeah, hey, this is brand new. No, it's not. Go look at it throughout history. Okay. So common sense here. If you haven't had sex with the opposite sex, you haven't had sexual intercourse with the opposite sex, you are a virgin. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. That's it. But then she goes in and touches on the race and forced sexual intercourse topic. Like, are you that desensitized here? Are you insane? If your blood boiled when I read that or when I heard that, 100% I am right there with you. And good on you. If it didn't boil, then you're insane. You are absolutely insane. At least go, wait, what did she just say? Like, that makes no sense. Okay. So rape is forced intercourse and she's suggesting that you can still be a virgin, that makes no sense to me. Because unfortunately, and I know people very close to me that this has happened to, they are no longer virgins. They aren't. They aren't. By definition, they are not. So to provide this disillusioned, mental abusive idea that they can still be a virgin is insane. That's more harmful than it is good. Like, how dare someone suggest that something as important as virginity still be able to be there when it's not the definition? You want to talk about adding confusion to an already chaotic and mentally and spiritually and emotionally confusing time for someone, man or woman? Are you serious? How dare you? You should feel ashamed, and anyone who believes this should feel just as ashamed. And I pray that you never go through that experience. And if you know someone who has, double shame even on you. You need to check yourself into a mental institution. I want you to go ask that friend of yours or someone who you know, or go find someone who has had these experiences and ask them, hey, were you a virgin when you got raped? And if the answer is yes, ask them, hey, did you feel like a virgin afterwards? Common sense would tell me the answer is going to be no, you nimwit. That's stupid. That is ridiculous. I think you need to get mentally evaluated if you believe that that is the case and that this can happen. The next thing we go in and talk about is, instead of losing something when you have sex here, apparently, instead of losing something, losing your virginity, why don't we reframe it? Why don't we reframe it in terms of gaining? Let's focus on everything you have to gain. Okay. What? Can you gain things from sexual intercourse? Yes, you can. Is there pleasure in it? Yes, but that comes from intimacy. That comes from a relationship. That comes from invested time and trust into another human. Okay? That's not just going off on a whim and going around having sex. That's not what that is. In fact, how many men and women out there who slept around with numerous partners, the one night standers, the booty calls, all of that, really felt anything other than the short term dopamine releasing, immediate feel good of that action, where the next morning it's called the walk of shame for a reason, whether it's the man or the woman. Okay. And you feel absolutely down, but then you repeat this perpetual cycle over and over and over until you meet that one you're in a relationship with. You can build a bond, you can build a connection, and you can build that intimacy. And yet, here we are. Okay. Why don't we reframe it to everything you look to gain for having sex, according to your definition? But hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay. We just got done talking about rape. If you don't lose anything from losing your virginity, then why is it that those human beings, again, male or female, man or woman, who have gotten raped and they were still virgins at the time that this happened to them, do they feel they lost something? They feel they lost their innocence. They feel they lost a part of their soul. They struggle with intimacy then. They struggle with trust. So you're saying reframe sex overall to what they're gaining, with no regard to those victim of rape or sexual assault. Because according to this video, apparently fingering can be a form of sex. So what about those sexually assaulted? where it's unwanted groping and touching and maybe finger insertion. What about that? What about the oral sex of sexual assault? What about that? Are these individuals supposed to look at it as gaining something? What did they gain from that? Please tell me. What did they gain from that? Nothing. They lost something. You lose an innocence. There is something that changes. I just said it a little bit ago. There's something that changes when you decide to have the final act of sex and sexual intercourse, to lose your virginity. Not oral sex, not anal sex, actual sex. And usually no one's trying anal sex before actual sexual intercourse, because that's even more of a vulnerable thing and more of something of trustworthy. Like, look, there is no way that someone's doing anal sex before actual sexual intercourse. If anything, they're going to go oral beforehand in touching each other and all of that stuff first. Okay. So this is absolutely insane to suggest that we need to reframe how we look at sex as something to gain and that it's your sexual experiences and you can define it. No, you have to go off the definitions, because if you start diluting this, you are degrading what it actually means to do the act. You are degrading a definition which provides us a framework in order to justify right and wrong, innocent or not, good or bad, and weigh decisions. So when you start muddying definitions of sex, sexual intercourse, virginity, you are making it more confusing or more acceptable to do things that have high consequences, from getting pregnant, from getting disease, but more importantly, to losing a part or opening up a piece of yourself that is incredibly vulnerable in a way that it just means nothing because it's okay and accepted and you can just do it. Where's the beautiful connection in that when someone gets married and they find the relationship and they find the intimacy, they find the connection, they find all that? Where's the beautiful thing in that if you're just going to say, no, you can define it as however you want and you get to just, and it's okay. And that, don't worry, the idea of virginity was just oppressive. It was just a way to control. Just a way to control people. You've lost your mind. You're part of the problem. Because then you continue to talk about myths about sex can be hurtful and overwhelming. No, you're hurtful and overwhelming. You're trying to change the actual definition of what sex is. You're giving this insane talk in a classroom set. Okay? You're saying children can define what sex is, which opens up the floodgates for confusion, for immorality, for degradation of society, lack of self-respect. You are the problem. It sets its initiatives and people like you that are at the forefront of this degradation and initiative set forth in this country. And it is sick. Not just this country, the world. It is sick. It is sick. And I cannot believe that you are okay with putting that out there. This entire video is targeted at our children. At our children. If you read the article that this video is supposed to support, it says the average age when people have sex for the first time is 17. That is your child. This entire initiative, this entire video, this entire muddying the waters of definitions of what sex, virginity, sexual intercourse, and then this idea of empowering your child to determine what sex means to them will absolutely destroy one of the most vulnerable, intimate, pure ideas and moralities that we have as a society if we do not protect this. If we do not protect this and protect your children and set up the moralities that we need to continue to practice and squash this idea and initiative, then we will lose the society and we will lose this country a lot faster than you could possibly imagine. The degradation will just compound exponentially faster. You cannot accept this. You have to be involved in your child's life. You have to talk about sex, virginity, morality, the pureness of it, what happens when you have sex. You have to have these conversations when you deem appropriate with your child. Not these people at Planned Parenthood, not at the schools, nothing like that. It is you, the parent. And I'll tell you what, as a father of a daughter, I will have no issue having these conversations with my child. None whatsoever. Because it's needed. You cannot let this stand. Because think about this. The first big push was to get you to believe that a man could be a woman and a woman can be a man. Now it's redefining what sex means and if you can be a virgin based on your own definitions. Insane. Redefining all these things in relation to sex, virginity, and saying our children can make it mean whatever they want is also insane. It's leading to the confusion and degradation of society as a whole. Words have meanings. This is a principle I live by and practice every day because when you think, you're using words before you speak them. So if your thoughts are made up of inaccurate or blatantly wrong definitions, then what your thoughts become are insane notions like this entire video is. And then you speak them and make them reality. You have to have definitions in order to communicate effectively. When you start blurring language, you deteriorate society. Look, if you want to be delusional, that's fine. It's up to you. And there are places called asylums for you in order for you to frequent as much as you want to. In fact, you should probably go reserve a suite so that we know where you're at and that you feel welcome and included, because that is something that I can support for you. So if you want to go find an asylum, I fully support that. All right? Because this is unacceptable outside of it. Stop going after the kids, involving sex in your targeting, attempting to redefine what a virgin is psychologically abusing the youth of America and the adults. If you keep it up and don't cease, you're not going to like the outcome, but I hope that this makes you think and that you are willing to A, stand up for what is right, rethink your thought process and beliefs if you believe this nonsense, and let's bring some common sense back into our society. I can't do it alone, though. I need your help. At the beginning of the show, I said I need you to contribute. This is how you contribute. Share the message. Have the conversations. Don't shy away from a hard conversation because it's uncomfortable. Why should it be uncomfortable to speak the truth? Common sense. These are things that I was always instilled in. I was always instilled in believing in when I was a child. And as an adult, you can rethink and get this reinvigorated and the spark lit in the fire that's within you to do the right thing here. We have to protect our kids. We have to keep sex, intimacy, all of those topics within the household. We cannot let these infiltrators infiltrate the thoughts and concepts and beliefs of our innocent minds and children. We cannot. But I need you to share the show. I need you to share this with someone. I need you to help get traction on this, to bring some common sense into this area. So if you see this happening, you need to speak up because we can absolutely change it. With that being said, don't be dense. Let's share the common sense, and we'll talk to you guys next time.